Hi and welcome to Suburban Self-Reliance. Today we're going to be talking about making sourdough bread. Now there's hundreds, if not thousands, of sourdough bread videos on YouTube, but most of them, if you're like me, you have been watching these videos and you have come up with the opinion yourself that you can't do that. You get these bread makers that are just wonderful. They got these nice round loaves of bread that are just absolutely amazing. They're scored on top. They're beautiful and everything. And you're thinking to yourself, all I want to do is make a loaf of bread for sandwiches to be able to feed my family. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what I have found is the simplest starter that you can make and the simplest bread. Most people, they want white flour. Some people like whole wheat. That's okay. But what I'm going to show you is a starter. None of this I got from myself. I gleaned from hours, shall we say weeks, months, years of YouTube videos, and finally narrowing it down to what was the most simple, repeatable, every week making. We make bread every week on Saturday, usually into Sunday. And I'll tell you, you can't do sourdough in less than, say, 24 hours. There has to be a fermentation side of this thing. But sourdough can be very frustrating, but if you do this exactly the way I've told you, you will have a repeatable loaf of bread every week that is just absolutely amazing. The great thing is you can make it out of any kind of flour that you want. Today, we're going to be doing something kind of interesting. I want to prove that it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the most expensive bread flour out there. You don't have to have freshly milled flour. And now all this helps and it makes a really nice loaf of bread. But we'll just say that you're on a huge budget. Maybe things have fallen apart and you're using flour that you've literally had in your pantry for years. So what we have today is literally from the lockdowns, from a food bank. What is the date on this thing? It's real new. Says Best Buy, July 7th, 2018. 18. So we want to find out if we can actually make a loaf of bread out of this. So now the process that we're going to go through, we make bread every week, and it's just absolutely delicious. You know, it curls when you cut it off. It's really nice and it's soft and it lasts more than a week actually too. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with tonight's video, and we're going to talk about the starter itself. Okay, the starter was so super easy to make. Now we don't do the what do you want to call it? The discard starter. I don't throw any of this away. You think about this: pioneers coming across the United States in the 1800s. Did they discard? No. The only thing they discarded was what they weren't using anymore, you know. But I mean, the starter was not discarded. Nothing was thrown away. I don't know where this whole nonsense of discard came through. So this sourdough is so easy to make. I'm not going to go through, and if I can find the link again of the person that actually made this, I will try to post that link. But it's so simple. Just it's any kind of flour that you want, any kind of flour. Although I would recommend not older flour. By the way, this is even bleached flour, so this is probably the worst you could probably get. It's well, let's see, 2018, which means it was probably made in actually 2017, and it's bleached. So a lot of you are saying there's no way that this bread's going to work. I would not use that in your starter. Okay, you want to use a good quality flour, but all-purpose flour is fine. It can, but it just don't use it for bleach to feed your starter. Anyway. So to make the starter is very easy. You just use any kind of flour that you want, and then Greek yogurt, okay? And then if you want to kind of stimulate it, you can put a little tiny bit of caraway seed in, and that stimulates the growth of the yogurt. The video said that it would take about a week, and sure enough, it was about 3-4 days, and nothing was happening, and we were like, well, what's going to happen here? It's not bubbling, it's not doing anything. And at about 4, 5, and 6, about 7 days, then all of a sudden it started to really rise, and it's got the nicest fermented smell to it. It's an absolutely wonderful. It's a yogurt starter, but the yogurt has got enzymes in it that actually make a beautiful starter. So now you want this not thick like a lot of these starters you see where they're just thick and gooey and stringy and stuff like that. That's not the type of starter that this is, and it never should be. Okay, so you want a good starter to be able to it's going to have the consistency probably of about a little bit more than pancake batter. Okay, when you finally pour it out into the bowl, and we'll do that here in a minute, that it's going to be maybe a little bit thicker, but it doesn't really matter. Now I will finish off with the starter part of this. Then in that all you do every week is just put about maybe a quarter to a half inch of flour on top of the starter, just so where it's just laying on there. Put it back in the refrigerator. Don't mix it up. Just let the flour sit on the top. And then when you pull it out the next week, I pull it out the night before and let it get warm, and then I add I don't know, a third to a half a cup of water. There's nothing precise about this, which is the great thing. People get so tired of all this preciseness in making sourdough. Now we do have a scale, and I recommend you buy one, because the amounts that we're going to be talking about here are very important. So anyway, that's the starter part of this, and I just wanted to talk with you about that because it's so simple to make. Then when you pull it out of the refrigerator, you mix it up, and you let it sit for about 3 or 4 hours. Let it rise, and your starter's ready. So let's move on to making some bread. Okay, so let's make some bread. First, we're going to start off with 275 grams of water. Now the water, and when you start your scale, by the way, so this automatically starts out on pounds or ounces or whatever like that. So hit the unit. Make sure that you've got not kilograms but grams. Okay, make sure that before you start dumping everything into the bottle. Anyway, 275 grams of water. I know a lot of you are going to be going, well, what's the cups and what's the teaspoons and tablespoons and things like that. I'm just going based off the video that I saw that works. So what we've done is we've just combined the video that showed how to make the starter and then a video that showed how to make the bread, and combined those, the two simplest things that I could probably find, to make the most wonderful bread. Okay, and it does more than just sandwich bread. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and measure out 275 grams of water. Now, I like to warm the water up to about, barely warm. The warmer the water, the better, but you don't want to get it hot by any stretch of the imagination, or you will ruin the starter. So now I've got 280 grams. So what this is, by the way, this is kind of an ish thing. You have to be somewhat precise, but a little bit of ish is okay too. All right, so now we're going to add 50 grams of starter. I'm going to go ahead and tear my scale out, bring it back to 0, and we're just going to dump in enough starter there to bring it up to 50 grams. Now, if you can see, it's just kind of just pouring out. Okay, so we got 56 grams, but it smells very, very nice, and we'll go ahead and prepare that in a minute. I'm going to set that over here. All right, so tear that out again, and what I like to do is go ahead and stir everything up to where the starter is blended in well with the water. It doesn't have to be thoroughly mixed up, but it helps. So we're going to do that. Got Chucky the angry egg beater here. He's always ticked off, and he's ticked off even when he's upside down. So the grandkids love this. So we always tell him when Chucky gets his hair into eggs or whatever like that, he gets really upset. Anyway, so now we're going to add 60 grams of oil. You can put in whatever oil you want. I like olive oil. So we got that scale tared out. We're going to go ahead and add 60 grams of olive oil. And it's pouring, and it's pouring, and it's pouring some more. We're up to 30 grams. The reason why we're going to put olive oil in there is because it makes the bread much softer. You can do what you want, but I'm just telling you how to make a great loaf of bread that's going to be repeatable all the time. All right, so now we're going to be putting in 10 grams of salt. I'm going to tear this out again. And you can use whatever salt you like. We like to use the pink Himalayan salt. And so there is 10 grams. Got that one precise. All right, tear that out again. I'm going to go ahead and one more thing that we want to put in here too. You can put in whatever sweetener you want. You can put in maple syrup. You can put in whatever. I just happen to have honey here. And you want to have 15 milligrams my scale doesn't measure in milligrams, so we're just going to go ahead and put in approximately, it's about a tablespoon, so about 4 grams ish. All right, remember this is kind of ish on some things. Some things that you don't want to be not ish on is like the amount of water. That's important, and the amount of starter and so on like that. Okay, it can be one way or another. I'd say err on the plus side than on the minus side, especially with your water and the sourdough. Anyway, so now we're going to take Chucky the ticked off egg beater, and we're going to stir everything up. Just kind of blend everything together a little bit there. Now, ordinarily, if we were making an ordinary loaf of bread here, we would use good quality all-purpose flour. You don't have to use bread flour, okay? You don't. This channel is all about doing things on a budget, doing things maybe when you don't have the facilities to be able to do things, maybe things have hit the fan, and so you're using what you can. So, along with these, and so we're just going to see if this actually works. I'm going to tear this out again. Now you're going to want to put in 500 milligrams, excuse me, 500 grams, not milligrams, 500 grams of, and you can see it's all-purpose bleached flour, okay? Really old. This is, no kidding, that this is 2018. We're going to put in 500 grams of flour, and it's going to kind of flash everywhere here. Okay, we're up to 350, 360, and 506 grams. All right, so we're going to go ahead and stick Chucky in here again and kind of get things going there. Get him out of his hair so we can wash him. He always likes to have a bath later on. And go ahead and shut my scale off. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's going to be kind of clumpy, and you're going to think, man, this is just not enough water. There's no way that there's not enough water here. So you're going to be tempted to add more water. Don't do it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to stir this up. Now, this is one thing that I'm noticing with the old bleached flour is that this is not clumping up together like it should necessarily. We're just going to see how this goes, okay? So, kind of scraping the edge of the bowl. The idea here is to not knead, and we're not kneading the dough here. We're just kind of clumping it into a ball, and then we're going to let it rest for about an hour. So we'll do that. See, I'm just kind of trying to get the flour, no loose flour at the bottom. Ordinarily, I'm going to have my wife remove that scale, thank you. And ordinarily, this would be clumping up into a really nice ball. But again, this is probably because of the old flour. I don't know, this may be a total failure. I kind of doubt it, though. I think that this is probably going to work. But what's going to happen here, since we just want to mix all the ingredients. Since we're going to end up with a ball here, but we're going to let it rest for an hour. And then what you're going to see, ordinarily, and I expect that you're probably going to see this with this flour too, is we're going to come back after an hour, and it's going to be very sticky because the dough has had a chance to hydrate itself. So see, it's kind of dry here. It is clumping up. So we want to get all that loose flour in the bottom. Now, I don't have a big stand mixer to be able to do this. You can just do this with your hands and it works fine. So, there we go. We got our bowl. Nothing's in the bottom of the bowl. And you're thinking to yourself, this is too dry, I need to add water. Don't do it. Don't do it. We'll show you when to do that later. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this lid. I'm just going to set it on top of here. This is what I do. Don't put a tablecloth, or instead of a tablecloth, don't put a dish towel over it. But I want to be able to seal this in. I want us to be able to seal this moisture in. So we're going to go ahead and set our timer, and we're going to let it rest for an hour, and then we're going to come back and we're going to knead it again. So stay tuned. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show what happens here, how to store the starter for the week. And all I'm going to do is just going to go ahead. I've scraped my starter down the walls. I know the jar looks terrible, but that's what happens when you have a sourdough starter. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and now this is what I like to use. I like to use just normal bread flour or like I say, all-purpose flour works great too. That's what I love about this recipe, is all-purpose flour works great. And this is just kind of like Walmart great value flour. It's not expensive flour. And I'm putting about 3/8 of an inch of flour on top. I'm going to put the lid back on again. We're going to put it in the refrigerator, and it's going to be good to go for the next week. And that's all you do to preserve the starter. It'll work just fine. It won't overly grow in the refrigerator. You get it out the night before, and it'll work great. All right. In a short period of time, we're going to go ahead and knead this dough here. It's resting, and we'll get right back to it. All right, we're back. So it's been an hour. I know that was really fast, but it's been an hour. And so you can see that you can't see it. You can feel it. See? This is the dough, but it's gotten a little bit more sticky over the week. Now, if you've been doing bread for a long time, you know that this is the case. But if I would have added water to this, then it would have been real goopy at this point in time, and it's only going to get more goopy. So what I'm doing, I don't have a fancy bread kneader. I'm just rolling it and folding it, and I'm going to do this for a couple of minutes. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to get really sticky. But this is what happens because the dough is hydrated now over the last hour. So I folded, twisted, done everything. You don't need to knead the dough for 8 to 10 minutes. I don't know. This has probably been 3 or 4 maybe. Anyway, gets to the point where you just can't hang on to it anymore. Here's the thing: we live in the Rocky Mountain region. And so it's an arid climate here. Maybe if you live in Tennessee, Florida, whatever like that, California. Of course, if you're in California, you're probably not watching this anyway. But you may not need to do this. But this next step is really, really important for what we have found for making good bread. Okay, so it's definitely wet. Here's the secret. So now I've got filtered water here. I am going to get my hand wet, and I'm going to start just patting down the dough and making sure that it is wet. I'm not going to be pouring water over it or anything like that. I'm just going to make sure the dough is wet. It's got to stay hydrated. So it's got a nice sheen across it, nice wet sheen. And there, we're going to go ahead and recover it again, and it's going to sit overnight. Probably 7, so it's I don't know, it's getting late in the evening right now, but probably about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll go ahead and we'll flatten it out, and we'll put it in the bread pan and everything like that, and we'll show you. We'll just kind of take it from there. All right, it's about 7:15 in the morning now. The next morning now, it's important to let your dough rise overnight so that it can ferment. If you see these recipes that say that you can do this in a day, fermentation is the key for a good sourdough bread. Now, it's not going to look huge, but you can see where it is about doubled. And so we're going to go ahead, and now my countertop here is got a granite countertop. We're blessed by the previous owners doing this, and so we're going to go ahead and scrape this out of the bowl. It's coming out real nice because it's still wet. Now, the reason why I patted it down last night with water, and not a huge amount of water, but just patted it down with a film of water, it's important to keep this dough hydrated. Like I said, if you live on a coastal state or a humid state, you may not have to do this. But if you live in a drier state, then you're going to have to do that. So yeah, we got a nice dough ball going here. Now, is it as perfect as it would be with normal bread or normal flour? I'm sorry. No, it's not. But it's got great elasticity. So remember, this is the dough that is from 2018 and is bleached flour. So anyway, I'm going to flatten it out about that big, kind of in a rectangle. I'm going to now I just put water on the countertop. For a normal, like a Formica countertop, you wouldn't be able to do this, but it works good for me. I'm not adding any extra flour, but I'm rolling up the sides over here, kind of rolling up the sides here, and I'm going to have my hands wet as I go along because I want to keep hydrating this dough. Okay, and I'm going to kind of roll and stretch, and then I want to tuck the top around, kind of fold it around there like that. Same thing with that one there. So we got kind of a nice long shaped dough. Now, here's what I'm going to do too. Wash my hands off here a little bit. So I'm going to show you what I've done for a pan. I like this glass pan. I've already pre-greased it and everything, and I use a kind of a coconut spray. You can use whatever you want to do, but I like the glass pan because then I can see what it's doing in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that, plop it in there. Now this is just kind of an idea that I came up with that has worked. It's been time tested. Took just a cheap metal pan and punched 2 holes in the bottom. You can punch 1 if you want, because if you have, you know, this puts it on the top here like that. If you have the dough rising, you want a nice tall loaf. It's going to have air escaping as the dough rises up into the pan. So we're just going to go ahead and let that sit like that all day. What I'm going to do, it snowed last night. It's a little cool in the house. The dough didn't rise as much as I wanted it to this morning, but again, this is kind of an experiment to see what this will do. So anyway, I'm going to put, now I put something heavy on here, probably just, I don't know, we'll probably put this honey on here or something like that to kind of hold it down. Otherwise the dough will rise and it will pick up the pan and push it off. I want to be able to look in here and see the dough almost to the top of these holes, and then I know that it's time to bake. So we'll let this go through the whole day, and then we'll come back to it in the afternoon, and we'll put it in the oven probably about, I'm going to guess about 3 to 4 in the afternoon, and we'll see what kind of bread that this really bad flour that makes. And again, the point of this is to show you that you can make bread with pretty much anything that you've got. So we'll see you this afternoon. We've had the dough in the oven with just the oven light on all day because it's been cold in the house. I wanted you to see how light and airy this dough is. And remember, this is the dough from the food bank dough of 2018, and it's bleached flour. So pretty happy with that. We'll go ahead and put it in the oven now. We're going to put it at 450 degrees, and then when we put the bread in, we're going to be lowering that temperature to 375, and we'll bake it for 45 minutes. And then I remove the top pan here, and then to brown the top of it, I bake it for 8 more minutes. So we'll see how that works. Okay, 45 minutes is up, and we've been going for, remember, at 450 degrees, and you want to preheat the oven too. And then when you put the bread in, it's 375, and that's for 45 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and slide this out here, pull off the top. That looks like a nice loaf. That looks really good. We're going to go ahead and put it in now, brown the top for 8 minutes. And we'll take it out. We'll see what it looks like. All right, the last 8 minutes are up. Let's go ahead and turn off the oven here, and we'll pull it out. See what this bread looks like. I'd say that's a nice looking loaf. So it looks like it might have fallen a little bit. I think that was because last night was so cold, and I actually let the bread sit out on the counter last night instead of maybe putting it in the oven with the oven light on. So I should have done that last night. We had snow last night. The house was kind of cold, so that first rise wasn't as much as I wanted to, but we'll go ahead and shake it out here. So, by the way, this is a clear Pyrex pan. Several years old, not sure if they're made anymore, but I love it because you can see what the dough is doing as it's rising. So, anyway, there it is. Got a nice crust on it. Got some cracks there that I like to see. And we'll let that cool for a few hours, and then we'll cut it open. That'll be our video for sourdough bread. All right, well, let's go ahead and slice this bread open. It's cool now. And so remember, this is the undesirable of undesirables. Cut my finger off there. As far as flour goes, got a nice crust to it. I like that. Nice and airy. Got a real nice moist flavor or feel to it. So we're going to go ahead and. All right, that's just nice. Let's see how it likes to curl off there. I'm going to make a sandwich for tomorrow. So cut out 2 slices here. See how that just curls off nice? You couldn't tell that that is not new all-purpose or bread flour. Just absolutely wonderful. Soft. So there it is, everybody. You can use whatever flour you want and you're going to have great results no matter what. I mean, should it be better with bread flour? Probably. Newer flour, obviously. But I think we've proven here that you can make bread out of pretty much anything. So with that, we're going to let you guys go. Thank you for watching. And as always, please like and subscribe our channel. It helps us grow.